everyone, you are listening to the Manifesting Straight Talk podcast, and I'm your host, Rachel Chamley. I'm a mindset and manifesting coach from the UK, and I am here to ignite that fire inside of you. If you are a female entrepreneur or change maker, or just a woman that is wanting more from life, then you are in exactly the right place. I am going to give you my no-nonsense, straight-talking advice to manifesting and show you how to take your life to that next level. So if you're ready, dive in now. I have some really exciting news. So next week, I am launching my second book that I get to be a part of. This is a co-authored book with another 20 incredible authors. And I am so privileged to be part of this book. This is all about transformation. This book is called The Transformation Within. And it is going to be so magical for anyone who is looking to change anything in their life, get inspiration, get motivation. There is so many coaches and different mentors involved in this book. It is going to be magical. But today's podcast episode is me being interviewed by the amazing Tina, who brings these collectives together. So I just want you to sit back and enjoy this interview and hear about everything that is coming and really just hear the magical conversation that we both have. So sit back and enjoy.
All right, we're live. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Tina Welsome from the Key Publishing House and the Key to Wellness. And I'm so happy to be joined by my dear friend, Rachel Chamley today, who is one of the authors of a chapter in The Transformation Within, Words of Wisdom from a collection of coaches to help you win at the game of life. Thank you, Rachel, for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Tina.
Of course. And I have to say, I have to give Rachel some, a shout out and a testimonial here because she is a friend and mentor and has coached me along my journey. And she absolutely helped me find the magic that was in me that I didn't believe was there or know was there. So I just have to say, if you have any inkling or desire to be called to work with Rachel, I swear by her and everything that I've done with her. I feel so grateful to have her as a friend and as a mentor. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. You shine anyway, so it was an easy one for sure.
Well, thank you for holding the mirror up and, blinding me with my brightness. No, just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll start with, do you know what? Let's start actually, since we're talking about you and your coaching. You want to start with that one, kind of what kind of coaching you do and what are the services you offer and kind of what are the people that you feel called to serve? Do you want to tell us about that first?
Yeah, so I'm a mindset and manifestation coach based here in the UK, but nowadays we are international. So that's how I got to meet the lovely Tina. So I coach mainly female entrepreneurs who are looking to make more money. Let's be honest. The way I do that is quite unusual. So I am very intuitive. I would what you would call an intuitive life coach. And I enable people to really dig into, like Tina said, what makes them shine, what they're here to do, why they're here to sparkle in a sense. So the ultimate goal for most of my clients is how they take their business to the next level. And the way I help them is by showing them how to be more of them and really step into their own power. And what they find is energetically, they attract that next level of business. They attract that next level of money. And that's what I do for people, really. And it's amazing.
It is amazing. And I have to say, I think one of the days we were talking about like our beliefs, like, what were the things that people, put on us, our beliefs about money or kind of what was our money mindset. And I remember talking about our relationship to money. And I still think about that all the time. You were like, well, how do you think if you treat money as a person in your life and they were to knock on your door and you open it and you're like, oh, thank God you finally got here. And where have you been? And what? That's all you are. And you come and you go. And it
You
just
can't
makes me
go.
laugh. Yeah, you
Lock
can't
you in my
stay.
house.
And I love that because for me with my elements of wellness, everything is that relationship, like your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your spirituality, your relationship to money. And I think with abundance, it's not just the cash, it's also like the time, the energy, financial, and just the abundance of things coming to you. And so I think shifting that mindset and awareness was so key to me. And now I'm like, oh, thank you, paycheck. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for validating all the hard work I've done. And but I think that's been so useful to me because I think, I don't know, a lot of us grew up with that feeling that it was, taboo to talk about it, or rich people are bad, or if you want money or abundance in your life, you're evil and you're greedy. And I think shifting that has been so critical for me.
It's the biggest contradiction we have. In this life, we need money. We need money for choices. We need money for travel. We need money for food. It's just the way that society works. Unless you want to go completely off grid, you need a level of income and money. And yet it's something that we just shouldn't speak about, or we shouldn't want, and we shouldn't desire it. And, I always say it's never about the money. It took me a little while to say I help people make more money, because I had my own, people don't want money. They want the freedom, they want the travel, they want the lifestyle, they want to be able to help more people. So it's never about the money, but it's always about the money as well. And being spiritual, I know a lot of people do think it's not a spiritual thing to want money. And it is so spiritual to want money. When you actually connect with the energy of money and you connect with that energy of love and unconditional love, it pours through you. So people are taught, like you say, that you shouldn't want money, you shouldn't have money, people with money aren't nice. But actually, if you think of money in the right hands, and that is what I am all about, I am all about empowering women and, really heart-centered women to have more money so that they can actually influence the next generation and the next generation and help so many more people. Just by being them, which is something we just weren't taught that you could do. So that's why I'm so passionate about the topic of money, and even just making it less taboo. Like, it's there to support us. The energy of money, when you do create that relationship with it, it is so supportive and loving. And, it's embracing that rather than fearing it and just feeling like we need it for the bare minimum. It's there to support us live our most magnificent life, is what I call it. And the only way we're going to do that is by freeing yourself. But it's connected to so much self-worth and allowing yourself to feel pleasure, allowing yourself to have desires, allowing yourself to have the nice bag, have the nice house, stand in front of people and speak on a stage. All of that comes from that confidence and self-worth. And you don't realize how much of that is actually linked to your money story that you're carrying around.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I think when I'm gonna go paying it forward, and then I'm gonna come back to like ancestral stuff. So don't let me forget that. But I think when you think about Elamu Girls, which is the charity that my company supports, and that the proceeds from book launches go to, their mantra is to give these young women in Malindi, Kenya, a voice, a choice, and a bank account, right? And because when they have that bank account and they have that sewing machine and they have those skills to go back to their village, they now get to choose what they're going to do with their life. And it's not being forced on them to be a second or third bride, or to, be enslaved in sexual tourism and things like that. So, I think for me sometimes, okay, well, having that bigger why of, yes, I want to support my family and take care of them well. And I want to have the time and energy to do that. And that means I have to have money to pay for the things that I need. But I also, the more I make, the more I get to give and to share to people who maybe can't generate that wealth in the same way. So I know that feels really good to me because I didn't have that in my life before. So, being able to give is also a gift back to myself. And then I'm going to go ancestrally because I know that for you, you do a lot of work with your lineage and ancestral healing and multi-generational trauma and Akashic records work. So some of those money stories, aren't mine. It might be what I've learned from society or my parents in this lifetime, but also it can come from that. Do you mind speaking on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we carry energy from up to 7 generations back. And if you think of the generations you've heard of in your family, there'll be some drama with money, there'll be some, some relationship with money that went bad or sour. And we have that energy imprinted into us, not only the stories that we hear on repeat, but they form how we start to live out with money. I mean, I look back just to my mum, and she couldn't open a bank account without her dad or her husband being there until she was about 22. So you think of just the impact of that growing up from that point of view, and that was quite recent. That's probably in the last 50 years here in the UK. I think it was about the same time in the US.
Yeah.
So things like that where my grandmother, she is so lovely, but she has men on a pedestal just because that was the way that she was brought up. Men come first. The woman is meant to have the tea ready. And really, if she isn't doing that, she's not a very good wife. And this is very much her belief system. So when you start to think of that and, it plays out in the way that you act, it plays out in the way that you behave. And it did for me for many years. From even in my own relationship, I was very much thinking, I'm not going to be like my grandma. I'm not going to do everything for a man. I'm not going to just be there to be, make him dinner and bring in cups of tea and do all of that stuff. And what I ended up doing was taking everything on for my husband. So emotionally, I was the breadwinner. I was the one doing all the decision making. I literally took everything. He didn't have to think. He didn't have to feel. He just, did let me do everything because that's what I was taught to do. Right. But I thought I was doing it different because I would let him do the housework. I would, he would help out that way. So I thought, I'm not my grandma. But suddenly had the realization that, oh my God, I have took on everything in this relationship. And she had
not just making tea, I'm doing 8,000 other things.
Yeah. She had it so much better than me. Yeah, I was getting a bit of cleaning done, but God, I was taking on everything else. So you just don't realize how much these things and patterns just become your nature, and up to 7 generations back. And that's just the ancestral line. When you think of your soul and how many lifetimes that one's lived, you're actually bringing in energy from so many places that you sometimes don't even know why you believe the things that you believe. And that's why we've got to really get to the root cause of, let's free ourselves from this, because abundance is our birthright. There's a channel of abundance constantly trying to flow into you and flow into your life. And if you're not feeling that, there's a level of resistance there and a level of belief that just needs to be cleared to allow that to come in.
I agree. And, it's interesting. You were saying, like, with the, the 7 generations, of our own ancestral line, I was listening to something recently that was talking about, when my mom conceived me, right? Like I have cells from her, but some of her cells were in her grandmother's womb, and so on and so on. So that, that genetic and epigenetic passing down is truly there. And, you think, like you were just saying, your mother and your grandmother, and, my grandmother lived through the Great Depression, and, and my that's one grandmother, and the other grandmother, was a stay-at-home mom of 9 children, and her husband was a postmaster. And I mean, I don't even know if anybody got tea, but their clothes were cleaned and the house was cleaned and my grandmother was a clean freak. But yeah, you think that, and whether or not you even heard those stories, you carry that in your cells. And it's amazing to think that. And also then to say, I can change that story. I can rewrite that story. I can make it have a different meaning. I can take the good parts of that and let go of the parts that don't serve, And I think that's so amazing.
Yeah. And there's so much trauma linked into that. I love that you brought up the cells in the womb, because that you, from doing the pelvic floor work that you've been doing as well, you'll know that does linger and that stays throughout each of them generations. And I know for me, I've suffered lots of different traumatic things, from fibroids, endometriosis. It really is where my stress and my trauma and all of that, does really build up in. So it's so rife within women that we carry this about. And even the man-woman thing, society was very patriarchal and still is in lots of ways, and we're still carrying that through with us. So I know I felt lots of guilt being the breadwinner in my house, and I felt like I was demasculating my husband. And that was a really big issue for me, and probably stopped me from earning more money, when even though I was the breadwinner, I probably could have earned a lot more, and I stopped myself. Now I'm still the breadwinner in my new relationship, and happy to say that, and do not have a problem with that one. And that's a difference between that healthy relationship and that healthy mindset as well. So, because it's not even a conversation that we would have. Right. It's just a part of how things play out.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. So if people wanted to learn more about this and work with you, kind of what programs and kind of how do you work with people? What is available?
There is lots available, but we were just talking about how long we've been doing things on the internet, and you don't realize how much your content and everything builds up. But I have the Manifesting Straight Talk podcast. So that is available on all listening platforms. And that is a mixture of the mindset stuff launched on a Wednesday, but I also do an energy forecast on a Monday, which is where you get to choose your own card and see what energy is coming out for you that week. So that's how the podcast works. But I've also just launched the 30-day abundance challenge, which we are on day 2, but you will not miss anything if you join at this point. So that is 30 days where we're going to be committed to tapping. If anybody's heard of tapping, that is emotional freedom technique. And that's a self-healing tool where you can actually shift deep beliefs. So what we're focusing on is all about abundance, all about self-worth, all about confidence, and really shifting and focusing on the next 30 days to clear some stuff around money. But also I do one-on-one coaching. So I have a number of packages. If anybody wants to have me as, their own mentor or coach, that's a service I do, and I have different things available. So I would just say reach out, let me know what you're interested in. If you love a bit of meditation, I'll direct you to that. Depends on what people are looking for. Everybody's at their own stage. Obviously, my private one-on-one coaching is deeper work, and you get me as a mentor, you get me on Voxer, you get me, as your little nudge behind you. But if you want more of a self-study course that you want to try out at your own pace, then my signature program is the Manifest Your Magnificent Life, where I talk people through the 6 steps to manifesting that I use.
And I definitely, like I said, can vouch for all of that working. So definitely check that out. So I did start everybody else out with the question of, what does transformation mean to you, or how has that looked in your own life? So I'll let you finish up with that, because we kind of segued into things differently today, which is all good.
This one threw me, actually. I was thinking, what does it mean to me? Because I was thinking of my own journey. But for me, transformation is just freedom. It is whatever you are battling with, wherever you want to change, wherever you want to move in your life, it's that going from the beginning to the end point. So transformation is the journey of that, and it's ultimate freedom. It's freeing you from whether it's that belief, it's freeing you from whether it's that, unhappy place in your life. But on the other side of it, it's just so good. When I think of it, I just my chest just expands. I'm just like, freedom. But yeah, it's just happiness, joy. It's people get scared by the word transformation. They get scared about what's going to change, what they're going to lose, what's going to be different. But what I love about it is once you start that journey, all the things that you thought you wanted to keep aren't necessarily what you wanted to keep. And you find different things, and actually the better it gets, the better it gets. It literally is a journey that you just don't want to stop. So anybody who is scared of that word or thinking things need to change in my life, but I just feel like I'm not ready, don't hold back, just go for it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think, it's about, taking that first step towards what you want to be different. And it might be that you don't know, it might not be that, it might be that you don't know what you want to be different, or you don't know where you're headed. You just know that you're not content or happy or satisfied or finding joy where you are today. And so I think that first transformation can just be the awareness of I want what she's having. I want to say, oh, it just feels so good, right? And making that decision that I'm ready for transformation. I think when I used to do yoga regularly, one of my favorite instructors would always say, I surrender to transformation. That was like one of the last things she would say. I still hear her voice in my head. And I think, life is always changing, and life is always changing us. So I think, getting in the game of your own transformation, and being on the field and having a say, and working with the coach, or, working on yourself or working on your skills, that's what's going to ultimately help you transform yourself and your life and the world at large, and allow you to feel like you're winning instead of sitting on the sidelines watching it go by.
Yeah. There was a big trigger point for me, and I just thought to myself, I'm happy, but I could be happier. And that was it. I just thought, I can be happier than this. And if anybody sat there thinking, I can be happier than I am, that's what you need to start following. But people wait until there's that big lightning bolt that's going to suddenly go, this is it, ding, 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 this is the sign. And actually, it's just starting to do the little things that bring you pleasure, that start you on a bigger journey. All of this started for me just with going to a spiritual development class once a week. It was literally like a meditation class once a week. I could not have written what has happened since. And it was just that one act of saying, I could be happier, let's just try this. And it's just spiraled into my life today, which is so unrecognizable compared to what it was. So,
and I think, we sometimes, I was reading an article yesterday that talked about, they were kind of blaming it on us Americans, but I think they were saying it also kind of goes throughout the rest of like the westernized world. But that we have such a focus in our generation on happiness and being happy. And I think that, I think, and I think I speak for you as well, like in as much as we are happier and we want to be even happier yet, I think both you and I are not, we don't say that in a like spiritually bypassing way. I think that we find joy, we have happiness, there is pleasure in every day. And there is also that duality of the hardship or the challenge or the lesson that I'm learning or the work that I'm putting into to transform. And so, and that recognition that is normal, that, seeking happiness doesn't mean you're happy every minute. But I think it comes down to like, we have those when things seem like, well, this isn't happy and I don't maybe like this, using that thought of, why is life doing this for me, not to me? And it's happening for me to learn something new, or for me to learn to delegate something or learn to let go of something or
Yeah.
learn that I don't really care about that anymore. So I'm not even going to worry about that. Or, and that there is, I guess there is a bit of pleasure in that pain of learning or challenge or growth or development as well. So
yeah, it's definitely not about bypassing. I mean, the transformational journey, we know, Tina, it's ups and downs. Some days you bawling your eyes out, the next day you're up on the moon. It just depends. But I think when you say, I'm happy, but I could be happier, deep down that you're not actually happy.
right.
So I think there's a big difference between seeking happiness and acknowledging that actually you're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And my chapter in the book is all about shutting all over yourself. And that is what most people do. They live the life they should be living rather than the life they would like to be living.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not about spiritual bypassing. And you hear the word positive, toxic positivity all the time and things like that. And that is not what it's about neither. But I do think, we come up with these phrases and things to, sometimes we do it to make a bit of an excuse for people to stay in the place where things are happening to them. And, we are both believers that everything happens for you. And as long as you kind of take in control and take in charge, you can change a lot. So the first step I teach in manifesting is you've got to reflect and accept. It doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter what you've allowed in the past. You can decide to change that.
Yeah.
And that's a big turning point, because a lot of the things that happen that we're not enjoying, it's because we accept them. So by accepting something and we're saying, yes, do that again, that's okay. Do some more of that, please. Whether that's the universe or whether that's a person,
Right.
what we accept, we are actually saying yes to. And that was a big realization for me once I saw what I was letting go, shall we say. I was accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided that wasn't, I wasn't there to accept that. And that's when things started to change.
Yeah, I agree. I think I grew up with that gratitude ceiling of, I should be grateful for everything I have. And I remember you saying, well, we don't say I've had enough air, thank you. Like I
No.
would like more, right? Like why, no, I also think on the flip end, we don't need to be like hedonistic gluttons. I'm all for hedonism. I am a Taurus. I am all about the five senses. So yeah, feel it, love it, embrace it. But you can't, just because I like chocolate cake doesn't mean I'm going to roll in it and eat it all day. But I'm also not going to really? No, you wouldn't. No. You'd eventually want like some protein when your sugar dropped, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's like all of that in moderation, right? But I think for me, it was always like, well, I'm grateful for what I have, even if it's not all I want. And other people have less. So it's that comparative suffering. So how dare I ask for or want more? Well, why not? I want more for me and I want more for everybody else as well. I'm not just looking out for myself. I want to improve the world for people beyond me as well. Yeah. So,
and that goes back to what you said before, where you were saying about how you having more allows you to help more people.
Yeah.
Whereas if us sitting here going, oh, well, I shouldn't want more because them over there don't have as much as me. Well, if you don't have more than enough, if you don't have that overflow, then how do you then help that person? You sat with less than doesn't help that person in any way, shape or form. Right. You having an abundance of allows you to go, why don't you have some of mine?
Mm-hmm.
So we just have it so backwards in the way that we think we should be helping people, but staying small and not shining is not the way to do that in any way, shape or form.
Right. So you heard it. It's time to get big, get abundant, find your magic, find somebody magical to reflect it back to you, because that helps you learn to stand in it and shine it. But thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to know more about Rachel, the book will be coming out on November 16th. We'll let you know. I'll keep you notified, and definitely sign up for the Transformation Summit so you can come back and get some more words of wisdom from her. It was lovely to hang out with you as always.
Oh, so good to see you. And thank you everybody who's watched. And I can't wait to see you at the summit if you come and join us.
Absolutely. Well, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
I really hope you enjoyed listening to our amazing conversation, and please look out for the book. It is going to be available from next week, and I will be posting all the details. So thank you for listening today, and I will catch you next week when the book will be launched. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope you loved every minute of it. If you want to follow me on social media, all the links are in the show notes, and I will catch you next week for more Manifesting Straight Talk.